Warning: what you are about to hear goes against traditional romantic counsel expressed by friends, family, and Instagram memes and quotes. Open-mindedness is advised.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, and welcome to another edition of the Senate Podcast. I'm your host, Neil, joined as always by my brother from another mother, and your host, Derek.
Hail.
And together we are hoped in these internet streets. We are here with another edition of the Senate Podcast. And my brother, how you doing? How is everything? What's going on? Talk to me.
Man, they cool, man. They here quiet, ready to rock as usual, as neutral, as what people say.
Neutral.
As neutral, ready to do Lord's work.
Hmm.
Yeah, today it was hot, to be honest. Fairly hot outside, as you would know, I work Eastern on a daily basis, so it was a little warm.
Yeah.
But I am here. I was feeling it a little bit in the gym, but I had a good workout. I fought through that. Had a good workout. And yeah, man, I am here. I'm ready to go with you. Always grateful to be in this space and to be able to do this and to be able to talk about these kind of issues on a nightly basis.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, man. People, we are here. This is the Senate Podcast. Talk to people and tell the people about G-Syndicate, man. How G-Syndicate, where you can find G-Syndicate and that sort of thing. Talk to me.
Yeah, man, G-Syndicate6.com. You can find us also on Facebook, YouTube, see Ramella Ashley Host. Big up to the man. Yeah, Facebook, YouTube here on YouTube, on Instagram at G-Syndicate6, spell out 6. I feel like I'm missing. Oh, Twitter, G-Syndicate6 on Twitter as well. And to let you guys know, on Sunday, coming on Sunday at 7 p.m., we'll be airing our virtual show called Ready to Blow on YouTube, our YouTube channel, G-Syndicate 6 on YouTube. So you can look up for that, join in, tune in. We got some all kind of music. It's just over half hour of listening. Our editor put it together very nicely.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a nice little show to sit back, relax, grab a gin and tonic, hint, wink, wink. And enjoy the show, man. We're going to do some music from Michael Jackson, some music from Sting, some music from G-Syndicate. So it's going to be some old R&B, some old school R&B for the 90s for you guys. If you like Babyface and Joe, that kind of thing, it'll be a nice evening for you to sit back, kick back, relax, enjoy. So shout out the guys, Kiamal, Vaden. Who else we got? Mark, Brett, and Hugh. Shout out you fellas, playing some good work. We are to finish a project, a recording project as well. So that's another thing that we got going on. So while you guys are watching the show, we'll be in the studio. We'll be in the studio doing some recording. Big up Tamara Ali coming through. Good to see you as always. Big up my man Steve Wu, the Bougie Farmer. Always good to see you guys. We are here one more time.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing, my brother? Talk to us. Let people know what's going on in your world, how you feeling and everything, you know?
Well, as I told you, and as I would tell everybody else I still here, you know, still holding on, still making
Don't let go.
Yeah. As I said, at some point I will discuss, because I think it's important that we talk about mental health. We talk about, we allude to it a lot, but we don't talk to it. And I think it's very important that we talk about mental health, particularly from the perspective of men. Yes, I know a lot of people hear us, quote unquote, bashing women. But we do think, and oddly enough, I only found this out earlier, I think last week, that is Men's Mental Health Month. So I think that in the near future we can talk about it some more. Excuse me, and I will talk a bit more about what I've been going through and things that's been happening, because there is a lot of I don't want to say stigma around mental health, but there's a lot of trepidation when it comes to talking about mental health, particularly for men.
Stigma too.
Well, yeah. And I assure you, let me just put it like this: having a mental breakdown does not look like what you see in the movies. It is not all flip out, freak out, and everything like that.
Hysteria.
is, for some people, it's quite the opposite, and for some people, they're very withdrawn. My personality is a very withdrawn personality. I know some people would disagree. A lot of people think I'm very outgoing, but um, you know, I withdraw. Anyhow, the point is we can talk about it at some point. This is not the space for that. But to answer your question, my brother, I am holding on. I think the days are not getting there, not as bad as the day before. Meaning that
That's always good.
I am weathering the storm, and at some point I will see the back of it. I have a great support system. First, let me say my support system being my family, my friends like you, Derek, brothers, I would say. Um, Another good friend, Mark. Kevin is another good friend. I have a lot of very close friends, the men in the Senate chat. Um,
Yeah.
they have helped me to stay grounded, and other friends. I have female friends too, Victoria, Carrie Ann. They keep me kind of on the ground. You know what I mean? So and
Yeah.
then people, realizing that we didn't go live last week, and a lot of people reached out. Rian, I got well wishes from Charis and Steve. Tomorrow reached out to me. So, I am confident in this moment that I can weather it through. From
Yeah.
moment to moment that could look different. But yeah, man, we go be
Yeah,
all right.
man. Let me
That's the end of it.
let me show it to all the people in the chat too that support us. I would have sent, as you said, would have sent well wishes and stuff like that, and sent kind words. We really appreciate it. And big respects to them. I want you to know. I sure they wanted you to know that you loved, you're supported, and we appreciate that.
I really do. I really do. Because when you get into that mind space, sometimes you can't see past your nose, and you feel very alone. Anyhow, this is not what this is about tonight. Tonight, but first, my brother, you are watching this. You gotta do the homework. You are indeed watching Senate Podcast. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit notification bell so you don't miss anything that we put in down. We do content view 5 days a week. We do this space Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Barbados time, where we talk about the things raw and wriggling, as my master Schmiegel would say. And then on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we do the Senate shorts. Those are not necessarily about the man woman thing, but we do a bit more commentary on random things, including the man woman thing. So it's a broader thing that we talk about. For example, the last short we did, we talked about man and um,
Affinity.
his affinity for John Deere green tractors and his promiscuity with them. So yeah, so if you like what we play now, if you are a supporter, if you like the shorts, whatever, like, comment, share, subscribe. You can give us a like now, that'd be fine. If you don't like what we put in
Yep.
on, and you watching and you just like to watch to get triggered and angered, that's fine. We appreciate your watching. Just share so that we could be stopped. Anyhow, every Tuesday and Thursday, as I said, we do the live stream at 8 p.m. And Derek would go on social media, particularly our Facebook page, the Senate Podcast, give it a like and a follow. Derek would go on there and he would post the next topic for the next live stream. This is no different. We are talking about Dark Mirror, and we are talking about our ethnic image as Black people. We would have talked about this in mid-January, and Derek
Yep.
felt it prudent that we continued the conversation and we kind of answered the question: if we don't like what we look like, how do we go about fixing what we don't like,
Yeah.
what we see? So, my brother, over to you. Lead us in, sir.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so one more time, as Neil would have said, this is the Senate podcast. I like to think of it as a thinking man's podcast. So the admission is free. Just hit the like button. That is the cost of admission. Just hit the like button on the way in. We have the hard conversations. And as Neil said, we generally talk man woman things, but tonight can be a little different. So hail to everybody, ladies and gents of the cabinet. And I felt, as Neil would have said, we did this before in Mirror Mirror. But I felt like this was a necessary conversation. I felt like we needed to have a bit of an intervention, a bit of a come to Jesus moment of sorts. So here we are, right? So since my late teens and early 20s, I've always carried myself a little bit differently from people my age, right? And I've always been interested in different things. So for me, I am not the guy that you will find at rally. Well, men my age tend to be. It's a huge thing apparently, but it was never for me. It wasn't my thing. kind of walk to the beat of a different drum in that regard. Neil, you would know when it comes to like video games and that kind of thing, it was never my thing. And to this day, it's still in my thing. You know, again, I walk into the beat of a different drum. TV watching, some of the things he managed to know about, it just be OT conversation, you know what I mean? I just can't relate, you know? And that was in my early teens, late teens, early 20s coming up, right? But since then, I've been concerned with the image of black men specifically. And more, I find that I'm concerned with the representation of black people in general, particularly in popular culture, right? About, I want to say just around 20 years ago, I watched a movie called The Brothers, right? And it focused on the lives of 4 young, handsome, and successful black men, played by Morris Chestnut, Shamar Moore, Bill Bellamy, and D.L. Hughley. We talked about D.L. Hughley on the Tuesday night, right? And I'm sure the ladies can relate to, you know, those gentlemen. I'm sure the ladies love those gentlemen, love to see them. Now, I still enjoy that movie to this day, right? To this day. Yeah. Because I find that the idea of a successful black man appeals to me more than the stereotypical hoodlum, thug, gangster, or, you know, as we say in these streets, the pokey and rare that we find in the modern day blaxploitation films at the time, like, you know, Menace to Society and Baby Boy, for example, right? So it's against this backdrop that I ask the question, what do we see? And more importantly, folks, what do we want to see as a representation of us as black people, right? In the words of the late Barrow, what is your mirror image? We're back there again, right? Because this is critical. Right? I recently watched The Lost City, starring Channing Tatum, Sandra Bullock, right? I usually find both of them pretty entertaining, so I gave it a watch. In the movie, there is a character named Beth, played by Divine Joy Randolph, right? And as I watched this movie, I couldn't help but notice that Miss Randolph was not only the only black person, but she was also the only fat person in the movie. And this is not hyperbole, right? She is the only fat person in the movie. And in true stereotypical fat black woman fashion, her character was also the most prone, outside of the villains in the movie, of course, the most prone to quick hostility in the film. And because I am who I am, I started to think about the reputation or the representation of black people in popular culture, right? Gatorade has an advertisement, Gatorade, that features a Caucasian man, a Caucasian woman, and a black woman, right? Because of copyright, issues we won't show here. The Caucasian man he's on the Peloton, right? Well coiffed, working out, sweating. Then he takes a nice big swig of Gatorade, right? The Caucasian woman is running outdoors, again, well coiffed, working out and sweating. Then she takes a swig of Gatorade. The black woman is stretching, looking a bit disheveled or disheveled, depending on how you want to call it. Hardly sweating. Then she takes a swig of Gatorade, right? It must be noted, folks, that there is no representation of the black man, even though the most popular sports leagues in the US are dominated by black athletes. But when I really think about it, it may be a good thing that we were not represented, Neil, because I shudder to think what they would have shown to represent black men. Probably a man in 2 big jeans, and you can stop me if you get this image in your brain. 2 big jeans, some Timberlands, a do-rag, and a wife beater. And guess what he'd probably be doing? Running. But from what? The poor. I can keep we short tonight, right? And before anybody come for me saying that I already denigrated black women, that's what this discussion is about, right? It comes for the men and women tonight, right? A few months ago, we spoke about our representation on CNN on the New Year's Eve floor. That would have been what, was the catalyst for, the impetus for the Mirror Mirror episode. The only black people on that floor were Don Lemon, a gay black man, and Dulce Sloan, a fat black woman who uttered some of the most hateful bullshit on TV against her very own black men when she said her resolution for 2022 was, get this, no broke dick. Now the part that was most hurtful, it was so hurtful. She received no reprisal or cancellation for those comments, right? By the way. Because you can say what you like about the black man and it's all good, but that's life in 2022. So I asked the question, are a gay man and an obese, obnoxious, boorish black woman the most accurate representations of us as black people? I find it difficult to believe and subscribe to that particular concept. At some point, we as black people, we need to take hold of our image in public forums. We need to have a more serious and intellectual approach to our lives and our ethnic image. There is no other race of people that would allow themselves to be represented consistently by athletes and entertainers, not when it comes to matters of import, right? Maxine Waters had to sit down with Meg Thee Stallion of Wet Ass Pussy fame, to address issues affecting black women. So I asked the ladies, is Meg Thee Stallion, again of Wet Ass Pussy fame, an accurate representation of all black women? Lizzo gave a TED talk on the black history of twerking. Shit, you know. The black history of twerking. If you doubt me, Google it. Look it up. Is Lizzo an accurate representation of black women? Is twerking and ass shaking the only thing black people are competent enough to talk about? Is the only representation of black men in mainstream media that of deadbeats, abusers, dope dealers, hoodlums, gangsters, and thugs, and to hear many black women tell it, homosexuals? Only yesterday, I received a video of two young women on a cruise simulating fellatio, and the champion DJ on the mic made the point. Let me repeat that so that people can get the pun and kind of, understand what I'm talking about, right? The champion DJ on the mic made the point that he couldn't allow her to have oral relations with him at his house because she had all the bodily fluids which were being simulated dropping on the floor. So he'd have to let her do it at her place because he wasn't cleaning it up. I had a conversation regarding that very video with our guy Aston. Shout out Aston in the chat. Aston, they had a back and forth about it. Aston made a very valid point, right? The behavior of the women was reprehensible. But this champ of a DJ didn't have to encourage it. And people would say that Aston's an angry guy. People would say, oh, Aston hurt and all that. Yeah, Aston bitter and all that. But here was Aston holding this champ of a DJ accountable and saying, yeah, them do, but he had to encourage it. To Aston's point, this champ of a DJ should have been the one to say, nah, we don't behave so on this boat. You can't get on so.
Dead that.
Oh, that, as the young people were saying. He didn't do that, and unfortunately, I don't think he could have, even if he wanted to. He would have probably get washed off and cursed, and that may be his last screws because shoot, you're having no fun. You know what I mean? Sadly, we as black people, we seem to actually like dysfunction. Anyone who dares to speak out about or against it is deemed as a wet blanket or a killjoy. You know what I mean? Everybody just want to have a little fun, you know what I mean? Let's sport. I can say this as a wrap up, right? I'll tell you, keeping it brief tonight. We, all the people on this sound of my voice, we as right thinking black people in general and Bajans in particular, we need to stand up and say without fear or equivocation that we will not be represented by the worst of us. We will not be represented by the slackest of us. Our women are more than obesity and ratchetry or ratchetrousness and the associated skinning out, twerking, and licentiousness.
Ratchetrosity, I can't say it.
Ratchetrousness. Our men, we are more than dealing, abuse, and violence. Because I saw a very interesting article a few days earlier this week saying that essentially Asian men are abusive, right? En masse. We as black people, we are more than entertainment. So if these things are true, I ask all of you under the sound of my voice, whether you're watching this live right now or you intend to watch it down the road, all of you under the sound of my voice, the same thing our great Prime Minister once asked us. What is our mirror image? And if you don't like what you see in the mirror image, what are we going to do to change it?
Ladies and gentlemen, again, you are indeed watching the Senate podcast. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Dislike, comment, share, subscribe. Hit notification bell so you don't miss anything coming down the pipeline. And let's get to it. No. So this is my thing about this, right? I find this a very ticklish conversation. First things first, let me say I agree with you wholeheartedly, right? You spoke earlier about walking to a different beat of a drum. I too walk to a different beat of a drum in terms of certain things that, you know, when you tell people, you know, there's a whole perception when people see you, especially when you're looking your best and everything like that.
Yeah.
Versus what you tell them that you into or you like or dislike or whatever. A lot of people tend to turn up their nose and wonder if you're strange or whatever. Like I've gotten some of that as well. What I would say is, this is a ticklish topic. Why? Because there are a lot of things that go into the image that is trumped up or portrayed. The angry black woman, she would add to that the angry obese black woman because recently I watched, I think it was Sonic the Hedgehog 2 with my son, and there's a character in there that was over the top, and she was plus size, and she was black, and she was rather angry. Granted, the situation did warrant her being angry, but I felt as though she was a caricature of the black woman, right? Um, and with this, I find when we have these conversations, we have to talk about it. Now, of course, we can never get rid of this image, right? You spoke about the DJ and the people on the cruise. I have come to learn over the last few years that you will have a subset of a community of a society that just will behave reprehensibly and don't see anything wrong with it, right? You could talk about socioeconomics, we could talk about education, we could talk about a myriad of things that contribute to that. But by and large, you will always have a subset of the society doing things that make you scratch your head. And it has, to me, I don't think it has anything to do with education or socioeconomics, but a lot of people will put that as a reason, a contributing factor to their behavior. I think it is as simple as you should not want to be seen doing some of the things that these people be doing on a cruise, and you should not be encouraging that because, you know, it's interesting, Derek, that in this space we are told that we are misogynists. In this space, we are told we are part of the patriarchy. In this space, we are told that we hold up some of the ideals and antiquated thinking of the patriarchy, which is hilarious because last year, Brutal Crank Star had a song right?
The biggest song.
The biggest
for the
song,
year.
right? Which essentially was abusing women, right? Or denigrating women.
And guess who played it most and loudest?
Exactly. DJs and male DJs. We had we got the aqua rodent. I ain't got no listen, again, let me first point out. I don't have no problem with these brothers making money, There is a market for them men simply because people
Yep.
want it. I ain't telling these brothers not to play this music. I ain't telling nobody what to do. I'm just stating, based on the topic, that as much as y'all want to come for us as prophets of patriarchy and and marauders of misogyny, right? Y'all getting on cruises and y'all pelting it back, what we call it, twerking, pelting it back and things like that, to all sorts of slackness and rudeness, and you haven't the DJs anymore, so y'all ain't getting on social media or Twitter out in these men, right? So
Yeah.
I don't want y'all to go for those men. That's not the point I'm trying to say. The point I'm trying to say is that y'all people, and I can speak specifically to Barbadian people, be like foolishness, be like a skinty, be like a Max Sport, be like a Kiki and a Ha Ha. Yeah, we like foolishness. So to that end, we would like a Brutal Crank Star. Shoot, I like the song by Brutal Crank Star. I ain't gonna lie to you, it's a funny song. I actually find it brazen, and I find it hilarious that the man actually had the temerity to pen that,
Uh-huh.
produce that, and got
Record
it to play. Right? So what I'm saying here is that we in Barbados, we like too much night sport, right? And I think we are hiding behind some of the stereotypes and tropes that we as black people have, saying that we gotta allow it. You know what I mean? Like, this is who we are, right? No, I'm not talking about kinky hair. I'm not talking about how we have different hairstyles. That is different. We as black people, we have coarse hair. We as black people, we have um, hair that grows differently from other people.
Yeah.
Therefore, I am not talking about how one's hair grows or how you are proportionately, like some women. We know how our women are shaped, etc., etc. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is that we don't seem to know time and place. We don't seem to know when and where and how to operate and to move. For example, unfortunately, this can come into a bit of comparison to other races. There are certain behaviors that are perpetrated. First things first, you brought up Hollywood, you brought up the movies and everything like that. Let me get out the way that Hollywood is not run by black people, and even if it was, we got people like Tyler Perry that, in my opinion, has got some of the most over the top representations of black people. Yes, he does have the powerful black man, and yes, he does have the powerful black woman. But when you look at them, and I guess one can argue that there's a cross section of any race, any culture, any society. Therefore, he shows the best of us and the worst of us, and that is fine.
Yeah, but I'll say this to your point, Neil. Rich characters tend to be the most memorable.
Because we like a skinty and a laugh. Medea is very, very popular.
Look at Tiffany Haddish in any movie she's in.
Yeah, right? Because we like a skinty and a laugh. We are the comic relief. We are the butt of jokes,
Yeah.
right? And I don't have a problem necessarily with Meg Thee Stallion, Cardi B, these women doing their thing, making their money. I have no problem with it. We all know sex sells. If you don't agree that sex is sell, whether you think it's right or wrong, if you don't agree that sex is sell, I can't help you. Sex sells. The female body is going to be accentuated and exaggerated, and it has been for generations. I am not talking about that. I am talking about there's a time and place for everything. There is a time and place for everything, and not everything deserves a TED talk. Not everything deserves to be put on CNN. Not every sort of behavior needs to be put on Front Street. We saw Will Smith walk on stage earlier this year and slap Chris Rock, right?
Yeah.
And if you never knew who Will Smith was and you never knew who Chris Rock was, but you heard two people walk up on the Oscar stage and slap the one another, chances are you would be thinking,
That's two black people.
that's two black people, right? And I know a lot of people can say, oh, that's racist, this and that, and the third, and that's fine. I understand. You can want to put up certain walls and defenses because it's a hard thing to hear. But the truth is, we are seen as very It's like we don't know time and place. And I think, for me, I think that's our biggest problem. I don't necessarily have a problem with our mirror image, right? Particularly in day-to-day society. A man gonna curse a woman. Shoot, white people just curse one another, right? Shoot, in America, when you have a huge cross section of black and white people and black people just behave reprehensibly just the same, right? It just
Yep.
seems that black people, just like what the media is going to portray, the media is going to focus on black people. And the thing is that we are looked at as we don't know how to behave, right? We don't know how to act. And let me say here, I love Bajan people. I love black people. I love when you could go into certain places and when somebody try to take a 6 for 9 or act as if they're high and mighty or whatever, ain't a boy bring you back down to earth like a black person or a Bajan, you know. You understand? There are situations where people will feel uncomfortable when it comes to black people and Bajan people, and I just be like, yeah, that's my people, right? But let's be honest. There are certain things that are shared on social media. There are certain things that are shared on in the media, and there are certain things that are said sometimes in public that I just be like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how it
Need
feel.
not be said.
It need not be said or need not to be done. You know what I mean? I just feel as though we have to do a lot of work when it comes to knowing time and place. And I think, you know, we could get into the psychological aspect of it, the trauma, and you know, we could get into the social ramifications of it, the social and socio-economical and educational part of it. But by and large, at the end, if somebody is, as they say, the ratchet, right? If they're raised in an environment where, you know, they've seen that behavior and they think that that is how you should behave, that's how to behave, right?
Mhm.
My child, you know what I hate to see, Derek? I hate to see when they dress young boys. You got a boy that's 3 years old. The man go on Jordans, man
Yeah,
two
yeah.
ears pierced with big gold, and the man go on some big gold around his neck. The man go on Levi jeans and a lacrosse shirt. Hair cornrow like he don't kill the Nubian naturals. And I just be like, are you taking a picture? And when you see him take the picture, he taking it like a grown man.
Yeah.
You understand? Like posing like a grown man. I hate that. Because essentially you are putting a certain perspective on that young man's in that young man's head. You know what I mean? Jordans. The man
Yeah,
will grow up and
yeah.
say, I gotta get me a pair of Jordans by hook or crook. I gotta get me some gold by hook or crook. I gotta get my hair braid and cornrow by hook or crook. You know what I mean? Baggy jeans.
Yeah.
We see
People don't wear baggy jeans no more. Yeah.
it's skinnies,
Come on,
yeah,
man.
it's skinnies, it's
Skinnies.
skinnies.
Come on, man.
But point is that I think our problem, I don't have a problem in if a man in his day to day want to wear baggy jeans, big gold, Jordans, man getting out and want to look good and that's how he want to represent himself. I have no problem with that. If a woman wants to do it, the only thing I would ask my people to do is wear clothes that you don't always gotta be adjusting every 2 seconds. I hate to see a man with the pants sagging every 2 minutes. He gotta be walking and pull it up. Shoot, sometimes I forget a
Or
belt.
just wear a belt. Just wear a
Yes,
belt.
sometimes could be some of these men be wearing a belt. You mean?
True.
Right? Shout out Kevin in the chat. But you know what I got sometimes I just forget a belt. And I just be pulling up my pants every now and then. And I just feel so stupid. If you are a man, if you can wear saggy pants, make sure that you got it just that you can wear it comfortably. Don't always be pulling up your pants. If you're a woman and you're wearing a dress that's too tight and too short or whatever,
Or wheelchair skirt, as my mother would call it.
you always pull it. Yeah, you always like you in a wheelchair or whatever. Like, please, I am telling you all to wear things that wear whatever you want to wear. But I hate to see you out on a boat and you look like you got a tizzy or something that you always pulling up and pulling on or whatever. But by and large, time and place. Time and place. Was there Dolce Sloan talking about no broad
Yeah.
day? That wasn't the place to do that. I understand you black, you unapologetically black, right? But there is a
Yeah.
way. There is a way to have said that statement without saying it the way you said it. You understand? Yeah, I am dealing with people. Shoot, what's the best way to say it? I'm not dealing with people in a certain tax bracket, but that sounds worse. You know what I mean?
But here's the thing: she could have said that, and we would be cool with it.
But
It sound bad,
we would be
but
cool.
at least it wasn't crude.
Hold on, we'd be cool with it. But the other people, that's the thing about this, you know, Derek. this is the thing about life, right? You cannot please all the people. There's a saying, you can't please all the people all the time. Some of the people all the time, all the people some of the time, but you can't please all the people all the time, right?
Right.
By and large, regardless, whatever you do, you will have detractors. But we've somehow forgotten that in 2022. People don't want detractors. Sorry. Women do not want detractors. I'm going to make that a pointed statement because if Dorothy Sloan, people went for Dorothy Sloan and say you saw no bro, they, oh, that's a problem. If she had said it more PC, people would have come for her and say, oh, you don't date people, they don't date poor people, you know what I mean? Like, it will always be some contention. So some people just figure, if it don't matter what you say and then you get taken, could as well do me and just be as ratchet or as misbehave or whatever as they want. But I think we need to understand time and place. Time and place. Because Hollywood is going to pick up all of what they see in culture when they ask. Because you got to understand, when you got a room of Hollywood executives, right, and they're planning a movie, you may have one person or two people that are minorities. One of them may be black. The point is that in a room when they're planning these movies and writing these movies, etc., they are not overwhelmingly black, right?
Right.
Not en masse. Yes,
so we're not represented at the conception stage of the ideas.
No, we are not, right? Yes, there are some people that are doing work for black people, by black people, and everything like that. But we talk about big Hollywood movies. Derek mentioned the brothers. Yes, that had good representation in it, right? But when you have movies that you have a lead, you have Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum, and you got the comic relief being the black person. Look at Kevin Hart, right? Kevin Hart, he, I would give it to Kevin Hart. He has managed to be comic relief, not necessarily trumping up black stereotypes all the time, right? You got movies like Jumanji and stuff like that, but still, by and large, he could slip into that. The point is we have to. The only reason Hollywood is going to put out that sort of behavior and ask for those types of characters because we are seen as that. I watched recently, right?
Stereotypes exist for a reason.
Recently, as I said, I'm going through my little thing now, man. And what gives me comfort is watching old movies, right? So I heavy open like there's a channel on Flow called TCM, right? Turner Classic Movie.
Yeah.
And
Turner Classic.
There's this old classic Gone with the Wind. Right? Everybody know Gone with the Wind. May not have watched it, but I've heard of it. Clark Gable and everything like that, right? There's a character in that called Mammy, right?
Mammy.
A very controversial figure as the years went on, but she won an Oscar for supporting the first black woman to win an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. Now, I watched that movie recently, about 2 days ago, and I remember watching that movie and said, can you imagine, right? There are people in recent times that got upset at Mammy and the representation of, she's a slave and she's boisterous and she's bombastic. A lot of people back in the 60s and saying had a problem with that character. But we don't have a problem with, what was the lady? Divine Joy or whatever? Yeah, nobody ain't got a problem with that, no. You see, we have Mammy type characters.
Same character, just not in the confinement of, or the confines of slavery.
This is not slaves. But it's all right because she bombastic. You better get in here, girl. I'll tie your feathers and right? She won an Oscar for that, and people were saying, we are more than that. We are this and that. Next, we are not just slaves. We're not bombastic. Some of us, back in the day, that had the Black Wall Street, everything like that. The point is that people are going to write what they think people are. So, if I were to write a movie, I can write a movie from the perspective of a black man, a Bajan black man. For me to write about something I don't know, let's say I'm writing about an American black man, or I'm writing about an East Indian black man or anything like that, I have to talk to people and do my research. But people ain't got that sort of time. Time is money, so let me get the budget out. So we are going to write what we think black people are.
And that is going to come from observation.
So the only way they're going to observe those things is if we put it out there. The problem is that, Derek, unfortunately, we cannot stop people from being people, right? They got white people. Let's call them trailer, like the white. They call trailer park guys and trailer. They don't want to use that term.
Yeah, I know you don't want to use that term, but that's what it's called them.
Right, they call them.
I ain't saying that that's what I'm calling them, but that's the term we use.
They are called trailer trash. They are called rednecks. They are called all sorts of despicable things, right? But there is a representation. People got mullets and gun toting and believe in the Confederacy and that sort of stuff. Those people are in movies as well, right? There is a representation there. But the problem is that when you put a black man, let's say you have a black man that is a high powered lawyer, right? A black man is a high powered lawyer and he's a mover and shaker in Hollywood and those sorts of things, right? It's almost like you believe it, you can see it, and we're glad for the representation. But depending on where he lives or what he does or whatever, he's kind of raise an eyebrow. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, this is fantasy here.
you understand? Like, there was a movie I was watching with Michael Ealy and the woman that was in Million Dollar Baby, where she was oh my goodness, he was a married man and he cheated on his wife when he went to Vegas.
I know the movie, me.
Right.
I know the movie.
And she was a detective trying to entrap him. And he was some engineer architect. He lived in
a huge house.
Huge house with a rotating driveway, and he had a Lamborghini, and my house was smart. And I was like, oh, he was not an engineer, he was like an agent or some sports agent. And I remember watching it and saying, all right, I'm not saying that black people don't have these things, but let's be honest, if we see that, it's more likely a rapper or ball player or something like that, right? And I was glad to see him represented like that. But the movie would not be well received by, because let's be honest, the majority of people that can watch these movies are white people, or gonna consume these movies are white people. It's just simple demographics. So when people see that, they're gonna say, all right, so I used to believe that this man is this, that, the next to the third, because it's not out there. People are going to be hesitant to believe those things because that is not what we are. That's not what people see on a day-to-day basis about. As a matter of fact, they hardly see that as a representation, right? I personally would like to see more
Fatal.
I would like to see more movies like Fatal where the black people are represented like that. I love Black Panther. I know Mark Moore, if you watch it wherever he is, he hated the movie. But me personally, I love to see black people represented in the highest and best light, and not as bungling, aggressive, overweight people, because that's not who we are. You understand me? We are much more than that. We are broader than that and everything like that. And it upsets me that people tolerate this type of representation and behavior when they see them. A lot of people we share about a lot of videos that ain't got no business sharing though.
True.
Matter of fact, when they get shared to me, it's dead that. It's deleted. I ain't got no time for that. I got a lot of video that come to me that I don't got no time for. And the one with the DJ is one of them. So to me, I think that it comes down to time and place and being careful with how we represent ourselves. People just go, Derek, people just go into town in bonnets. People just go to Sheraton in bonnets, Spikestone, wherever in bonnets and fuzzy slippers. Like then I go against Spikestone, so let me just put on these, put my bonnet, put my head and get on the road.
Anyhow.
And then you wonder why.
And it's funny that you should say people are not with me, right? Because and I sent you that picture. I saw a guy. I met a boy some fish cider.
Yeah.
And I saw a young gentleman.
Yeah.
In a bonnet.
Yeah. That's what
so that ain't a woman thing. That's a people thing.
That's a people thing. That I am very careful to say that they got men, and I am guilty of it too. Huh? Let me be very, very clear. There was a point in time in my life where I got on, and sometimes just don't be in a mental mood to doll up and things like that, or not even put on a decent shirt or whatever. I've gone down into Spikestone in a vest and that sort of thing, and slippers and stuff like that. I am guilty of it too. But then now when I see a representation, let's say earlier this year we had a Netflix series coming here, Outer Banks representing us, and we see a man dress any old hoe. How upset would we be if we saw on Outer Banks people in bonnets walking about, people in fuzzy? They were, I don't know if I could say where they were shooting, but they were shooting in a place in Barbados where I would have seen people wearing bonnets. I would have seen men with a pants sagging. I would have seen women dressed inappropriately and men dressed inappropriately. If that hit Netflix and they had extras and the extras were dressed, obviously they were dressed a certain type of way, right? Everybody, well, most of the people were black. Most people had on essentially Caribbean-esque type what surfer shorts and that sort of thing. That's fine.
Yeah.
But the point is if they had say, you know what, they want representation, a problem, and I had a woman walking about in a bonnet and fuzzy slippers, and I had a man with the pants sagging, pulling out every 2 seconds, and he got on I don't even know it was the brand shirt that we're whatever, but you got on something that is seen as inappropriate, we be vexed. And that's the thing about black people, we get vexed when we choose to get vexed when the representation offends us. Yeah. Which is hilarious to me because a woman
we putting out certain things and then we vex when people see what we putting out. I think that's what we are.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, let's be fair now. Let us be fair. Some of the people that are outraged are people that don't dress and move like some of these people.
Agreed.
So they get upset as well. But let's be honest, right? Use a woman every time, or use a man every time you go, as there to see you foot white. You know what I mean? You sat pants sagging. You in a petticoat and a. Let me put it like this. If I were to write a movie, right? Let's say I had connections and I was able to do a Hollywood blockbuster. And they said, you know what, let's shoot it here in Barbados. And they came here to Barbados to shoot a few scenes. And there was a scene where they had a news report where they're showing images, video of the situation going on in a neighborhood. Like, let's say, I don't know, a place in town or whatever, right?
Right, yeah. An urban area, let's call it that.
Right? And you got a woman in a petticoat and curlers. Petticoat over she breasts and curlers. Right? And this woman gets screen time. People will be upset. Because Barbados attached to that, and that's how Barbadians walk in boat. But that's who we are, right? Innit?
Apparently.
So we gotta be very, very careful how, when, and where. And I think in closing, I think also too, I touched on it briefly, but you know me, I can always speak about the mental aspect of it, the mental health aspect of it, trauma of it. I think that a lot of black people, they accept their lot in terms of their situation and everything like that, right? Like mentally, you would say, "Man, look, I grew up in the hood. I grew up poor. I grew up this and that. This is what I want to portray. So if I'm going to speak on TV or radio or whatever, this is how I get dressed, right?" But sometimes things are bigger than us. Sometimes we represent more than ourselves. Sometimes we represent our family. Sometimes we represent our community. Sometimes we represent our entire race. And we have to understand that as we move, we have to move to soon. I remember there I went overseas a couple years ago and I represented Barbados. I was a guest of another country, the government of another country. And I know for sure anytime I was to hit the street, anytime I was to go out, I could not go out looking a certain type of way.
Correct.
Right? And I think that if people, none of the people that went dressed any old how or anything like that, but you have to know time and place. You have to know time and place. And that is my biggest thing with this mirror image, dark mirror conversation. I want people to be more cognizant of time and place. There will be a time to wear basketball shorts and a jersey. There will be time to wear, I don't have a problem with a woman wearing a bonnet in she front yard. I ain't got a woman, she gone downstairs, jerk the garbage or whatever she wearing. I have no problem with that. But as you get in town, and you pants sagging all down, you pulling up all the time, right? You got on you man come and jerk a camera in your face now and say, okay, as a Barbadian, how you feel about that? And CNN pick it up and it going all over the world and whatever now. And then Hollywood say, well, oh, that's how Bajans are. That's all we know. So let me put in a Bajan. And you see now Bajan may go on bonnets and things in movies, blockbuster movies and things. And they're talking and acting a certain type of way. We vex, we blue vex, cross. So time and place, people. That's all I got to say about it.
Yeah, time and place, as you said. And there will be time to twerk. There will be time to get skin out at some point or whatever. But time and place. Let me dive in the chat a little bit. I see Romel made a comment that it's not popping out in the chat, but see it here on the thing. Ramel said image is paramount. This is why the Cosby Show was so revolutionary. Up until that point, black people were represented as mammies and jesters for comic relief. And that is so very true.
Let me add to that. With the Cosby Show, one, let me first say for me personally, I remember seeing that back in the 80s and saying, okay, all right, you got a black man that is a doctor, a black woman that is a lawyer, then live in New York in the Heights and Terraces and raising 4 children. Okay. Right? But as I grew older, I appreciated the image of it. And
Yeah.
two, when Cosby had his fall from grace, that's why so many people were upset. So many people were upset with Cosby because they believed he represented
what it represented. Yeah.
Exactly. And his legacy now is forever tarnished with that. I mean, I still watch the Cosby's. I appreciate it, and stuff like that.
Yeah. Ramel also says I hated Divine's character in The Lost City. It was so on brand for whole black people are represented in Hollywood. Yeah, that's when I look back at because we would have covered movies like Waiting to Exhale before, we would have covered. As a matter of fact, Waiting to Exhale is a good example. In Waiting to Exhale, they had one plus size woman. I can say a plus size now, but Whitney Houston was, slim and trim. Angela Bassett is still today at 60 plus slim and trim. Who's the other one? Layla Rashawn.
Layla Rashawn was
smoking.
Yeah,
she's not so much these days, but she was smoking.
She was a very attractive young lady.
Yeah, and that was in the 90s. But we still had that thing.
Right?
In particular, yeah, man. He said,
"Oh yeah, you broke up a little bit." That's what I was just saying. Sorry.
Yeah, we still had that kind of representation, and you didn't find that we were represented as, well, at least not our women were not represented like that. We've always fought the hoodlum and dope boy kind of image as black men. And I found it interesting that the Gatorade ad didn't even give us any representation at all. But that's what it is.
But and before you dive back in the chat, for me, what is hate? Let's say we have a movie. You remember a movie like Booty Call. You remember a movie like Boomerang. How to Be a Player and those sort of movies. Where it's an all-black cast or a majority black cast. I don't have a problem with the buffoonery in an all-black cast once it's understood that there's a cross-section of our culture. Right? So you will got smooth, debonair black person. You will have the classy, sophisticated black woman. You would have a bungling buffoon. You would have somebody that is, for lack of a better term, ghetto. I don't have a problem with that, like Living Single, those types of movies I don't have a problem with. What I have a problem with is when you have other races intermingled into the cast. So now you have white, black, Hispanic, or whatever, and we are portrayed.
The worst of us is portrayed in the movie.
Like, how
as
much
opposed to the worst of the other races.
You know how much I dislike Tyrese's character in the Fast series? I thank God for Ludacris's character, that the man is essentially...
To balance it out.
Yeah. Like, I just can't stand the man. I cannot stand the man in a Fast movie. And he's get more and more ridiculous.
It's true. Because, he would have made an appearance. His character would have made an appearance in Fast 2, right? Second Fast and Furious movie. And from then, he's an ex-hoodlum. Right, jail and everything. And then he was portrayed as, from then, not particularly smart. And as you say, he gets less smart the more installments you go. So by Fast 25, Lord knows what Tyrese's character can be doing, right? He might just be vegetable. Anyhow, Ashan says there's a serious anti-intellectualism in black culture. If you're nerdy, I know Ashton wouldn't show that video here. We like to be jesters and clowns. There is a movie back in the day, not another teen movie, right? It is a comedy slapstick starring Chris Evans, who plays Captain America, and one of the characters in it was he said it, right, because it was spoofing all the other comedy movies that would have gone before. And in this particular movie, the black character, I cannot remember his name, he said he is essentially the token black, and he is there to say stuff like, damn, shit, that's why. Right? And those were the only lines he had throughout the film. He had different hairstyles, cornrows, afros, and stuff like that. And those would change from scene to scene. But the only lines he had, damn, shit, that's why. Right? And that was the representation. That's what whoever conceptualized our movie saw of black people at the time. And that was a parody. So everything is, overblown. Everything is over the top. But that is what we were viewed as, right? Romel says Nisha was an angry black woman in the first Sonic movie too. Yeah. 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 And the thing about that, because we perpetuate.
Sorry, I apologize. My mic was muted. It don't matter what you just say. Forget it.
Unfortunately, I think is a case where, correct, Romel. Thank you so much, Dion Richmond. Yeah, it unfortunately because we perpetuate it so much, we seem to think that we're supposed to accept those kind of stereotypes, and then we buy into those kind of stereotypes. Sad stuff, man. Austin says he had class 4 children discussing OnlyFans. I don't even know what to say to that there. Yeah. Stacy says, I remember years ago hearing I don't know what it means to be black because I'm a red and I would be in the great house back in slavery days. We don't even respect each other. Yeah, that's how it goes. Tygo Fox, according to the racists, you and the darker black person just as black. Yeah. That's some colorism coming in there.
Yep.
Church, how do you continually oppress people? A little bit of cultural imperialism, a dash of paying them to make a fool of themselves, and that. The Chinese people say, we can take that about it. You can't portray me the same way all the time in movies. And they start taking the roles, but we can't do that, Anyhow, and a cup of limiting access to education and basic needs. Yeah, we got access to education, but I think we kind of like the dysfunction. More and more, right? In the past couple of weeks, I've been thinking, what's the point of doing these shows, right, Neil? Because I seem to think that when I see the comment section, right, or some of the content that I find, we as black people seem to be so content, so happy to roll up in dysfunction like a pig in mud. And we just seem happy in it. Yeah. We just want to do what we want to do. And nobody don't tell me nothing about it. Accountability be damned. I just want to enjoy myself, have some fun. But I don't want to do no consequences. I don't want to do no reprisal, no repercussions, nothing. So I just want to do what I want to do. You know what I mean?
But to add to that point, like you, I have recently been thinking was the point because, you said people happy to just we are here for a short time. We are here for a good time, not a long time, right? And I think people are well aware you only got one life to live. And that is fine because in the end, if you I don't know who understands what nihilism is or whatever, none of this matters, right? But it's still very disheartening because on one hand you can't say I here for a good time, not a long time. I am like I don't matter, none of this matters. The constructs and thought processes don't matter, whatever. But then when people talk, but because we in this space right there, right? As we see something about women, we misogynistic, we patriarchy. Yep. You understand? we are seen as the party poopers, the wet blanket. But yet still people feel like they should be able and entitled to do whatever they want. You are entitled to do whatever you want. We're not saying to you not to dress how you want to dress or not to represent yourself however you feel it represented. But don't come upset when somebody has an opinion on how you dress or how you talk or how you move or anything like that.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
You got the right to do what you want to do, and other people have that right too. So, and that might include commenting on the stuff you do.
Okay, good. So, to me, I think that when we talk about, because this still comes back to the man-woman thing, right? In that there are certain women there you and I ain't gonna look at. I ain't gonna get into those types of women. I'm not gonna get in how to dress, how to look. We're not getting into those things. But by and large, there are certain type of women we not taking up. Why? Because we understand what comes with certain things. And we understand if we put ourselves in them things, is it judgment? Is it wrong?
Yeah.
Who knows? But the point is, I just said we have a good time, not a long time. So if I want to put myself in foolishness, in drama, and I pick up somebody that is 100 all the time, a woman that down by Massey. Oh God bless, I ain't paying for that. So and so money I paying for that. You feel it? Oh God bless, bring manager, cause I pay for that. I ain't dealing with that. I'm not dealing with that. But there are people that believe that's how they're supposed to move. That's how they're supposed to behave. Keep it 100, keep it a buck.
I'll tell you this, when you know you mentioned that, I will never forget. In 2010, I went up to New York, right? And I'm walking on Flatbush with my dad, right? Shout out to you all, man. I think you may be watching right now.
Yeah, show that's.
Yeah, and we be walking on Flatbush, and what he still say here? So much RH money for these things, but I could buy these for so and so. And they said, Lord have mercy. If I was like, yeah, the big agents, you know, just keep it trucking. So I ran into one lady in a KFC. It's just to digress a little bit. I ran into this lady in KFC, and she is saying, because we clearly recognize each other, and then it come to find out I taught her son some years prior, right? So she's saying that we going back on the same flight and everything, and I realized that, okay, cool. And she wants me to bring home a bag for her, right? Now, we recognize each other. We don't know each other, right? As a matter of fact, prior to that conversation, we had no conversations, right? But she wants me to bring home a bike for her. Anyhow, fast forward now to the end of the week, and I'm on my way home, and I come, I check in, etc. Buy a little magazine, I go be put in the front, you know, and I am sitting there in the departure lounge, legs crossed, my little cap pulled down and everything, and I in my full trans-Caribbean accent and everything. Because certain things I just dealing with, you know what I mean? Like, big up Steven, my man, Braf tell there's the Pan-Caribbean accent, right? But you can't really identify
which
where it's from, right? So I see this lady, I already checked and everything, so I can't put you in a bike for you now. She says, boy, I would have loved to see you. Imagine they charge me 100 and so and so. And she did not say so and so. US dollars for overweight. And me and my trans-Caribbean accent. Well, that's quite unfortunate, ma'am. I didn't have those problems. I just came and checked in, and that was it for me. We reach Grantley Adams International Airport, New York. Anything to declare? Well, you know what I mean. I ain't got much. The bag on my back, suitcase, that's it, and I come along through, right? If you see, I was the only person in the nothing to declare line. The only person. Everybody else off that flight, all those bitches had a whole set of stuff, like the buddy, all a Flatbush, all a Utica to bring home. But this lady in particular, Neil Hoyt, had what I like to compare to two coffins walking with. She had two massive bags filled to bursting with things to bring home. But she's upset because, hey, the people tell she got to pay for them. And she's making a big stink about it in the people airport, And me, I got to pretend like I don't know what she mean, right? I know who she's talking to. But hey, that's me, It's like just a little thing, just show how we get on. There was a time when they had stores in Margarita that had up signs in the shop when they saying no Bajans allowed.
I remember hearing that. I never saw, but I remember hearing that we were held in a very low esteem in the Caribbean. Yeah.
So it would do you well very often when you travel to keep your mouth shut or adopt a trans-Caribbean accent. As I normally do.
Me personally, I ain't agree with that because for me, I am me, but I know how, when, and where to behave. I can speak proper English as a Barbadian, and I can speak proper Bajan when I was a Bajan. You understand?
To be fair, Neil, there are many Bajans that raw than me, to be fair. But I prefer to just get through without the hassle.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Time and place is basically more like
time and place.
Time and place.
Time and place, right? Cherish, keep that rhetoric, and over the years, the oppressed will lose their identity, self-respect, and sense of worth. I would say a music video of a black woman saying what size she likes and playing it out.
Yep.
Why is that something to promote for yourself? Nothing else to say. But if you're making money, you know what I mean? You make money off it, you promote it. When we do these things, how far will we go? I say backwards. Right? Whoops, where did we go? Right. Think of the Eki character in BIM, same thing. Barbados would never associate the alcoholic foul mouth image to Caucasians en masse, but the equivalent is true for us black people. Tango Fox, well, people of Walmart exist for a reason. Yeah. Can't address any or how. Like, we try to institute something called Saturday swag, right? So,
Yeah. Hashtag Saturday swag.
Yeah, get with it, gentlemen. Hashtag Saturday swag. Make yourself look nice on the side there and step out, take a picture, post it, shoot, tag the Senate. We won't mind at all, right? Aston says you should see how parents turn up to collect their kids. Lord have mercy. The effrontery is real, and that is no joke. That is no joke. I've seen some things over the years. I've been teaching for a while. I've seen some things, right? The fact that a dress code needs to be posted at the gate of the school telling adults how to dress is sad. Yes, I found the same thing, Tango Fox. We have one posted on our school wall as well. Cherish, every generation is losing morality and every entertainer getting more followers. We aren't teaching our children self-respect, but how to follow the crowd. Annie C in the house. Good to see you, Annie C. Annie C says TV series are a different world. We're also pivotal for young black people back in the 90s. Yes.
Yep. I like a different world. I actually like a different world more than Cosby. Thought I was more in keeping with.
Yeah. Because the people were younger, so you could identify with them a little bit more.
And the issues.
Whitney was hot.
Yeah. I had like the they had a hippie girl. What's she name?
That's a long time ago. I can't remember. But
yeah.
But yeah, Tango Fox. Then the Chinese turn around and make black children insult themselves in Chinese. The children don't understand what they're saying. There was a documentary on this. Lord have mercy. Aston says that when doing the Lord's work, this space is necessary. Thank you, my brother. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
The doc is called Racism for Sale. Okay, we got to look at that.
Documentary.
Romel says, bring back a bike. Hell no to the no. I think I got you up with that, Romel. I think I got that somewhere. Let me see if I got my guy. Do I have him?
Man, should be both there, man.
I had to redo the songboard. So lucky here, man. Yeah.
To the no.
Yeah, man. Cherish says big up Flatbush and Pickering, especially the Asian hair stores. They don't like dealing with us. Well, don't buy the Asian people here.
That's what it is.
If you can't, as people say, this is a thing. If you can achieve it, weave it. If you can't grow it, sow it. Let's grow the hair on your head. Be cool with that.
Oh, but there you can't say that. I got some women that can. Alopecia is a real thing. Hashtag alopecia matters.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? Rock your head. Your head is your head. Shoot, I ain't gonna hear.
Yeah, but then you gonna have,
sometime.
and then you have,
Sometime no.
and then you have comedians making fun of you on the biggest stage in entertainment.
And then get your husband to go and slap somebody.
Look,
And call.
my thing is, but all I want people to understand, right, is because you grew up in a situation, because your station is what it is, right? It does not mean that you have to carry yourself in a particular manner, right? I understand it's difficult. I know for financial reasons or for whatever reasons, mentally you may feel that this is who I am, so I ain't worth no better, or this is the best of me, or whatever. But at the end of the day, and let's be very, very clear, it's not only how you dress, it's your behavior as well. Because I know some Rasta men that, the men are Rasta men, and the men is dress and move a particular type of way, but are very, very mannerly and polite. And they know time and place. They know how, when, and where, and what to speak about. Right? So we got to be very, very careful in how we move around society. And we have to be very, very careful of what we put out on social media as well. I understand we like the clicks and the followers, the dopamine hits and the serotonin and all of that. We like all of that behavior. But at the end of the day, we have to be careful with what we put out there, because social media on a microcosm, it represents you. And then on a larger scale, it represents your community. So if you on there and I think there was a video somebody sent of a woman. There's a woman in a bikini there. A video twerking or something like that. The point is that in everything that is to hit social media, in every challenge you got to pick up, some things you can let pass. You got 2,000 people following you on your IG. You're not a celebrity. You're not doing it for their entertainment and their, be very, very cognizant with how you move and what you put out there. I'm not telling you that if you feeling yourself, you want to put out something. But don't put out any and everything and put it out often. And then when you get certain conversations coming at you and certain behaviors coming around you, you upset. Because the world does not work like that. If you put out something and you receive back a particular energy based on what you put out, you will God know that what you put out is the problem.
Pretty much.
And I know, I just talked about, I know some people can liken that to victim blaming, right? A lot of people can. But I tell you, I hear the conversations now in my head. Oh, so basically saying if I get a certain type of behavior because of how I dress or what I purport on social media, that I deserve it. You have to be careful what you put out there. The world is not a safe place. People are dangerous. And you know what? It's not just me. Women will talk about you too. Women will tell you say the nastiest things and perpetuate the nastiest things against you. So be careful what you put out there. And we are not talking about something as heinous as raping. Can't say the other word, but you know what I mean. Or sexual abuse. Because that's different. That's taking this stepping over a big, huge line based on somebody's behavior, attitude, and movement. So we got some other comments.
Yes. Okay. I said trust and dealing with ratchetry. Steve, another often overlooked thing is the tattoos black people get with symbols from other cultures. I've seen documentaries and series where the symbol is derogatory, and we wear it proudly. Yeah, that's how we go.
Me personally, I ain't got no problem with tattoos. Just once you cover them, if you want to put whatever you want to put on your body is your body. That's up to you. Once you hide it, if you get like my Gucci man got a tattoo of a ice cream cone in his face. I mean, Gucci man can get away with that because Gucci man is a multi-million-dollar recording artist.
Yeah, asking the boy for the job.
You that working a 9 to 5. You that working.
He punching a 95.
Be very, very cognizant with who you tattoo for your face. Shoot, do not tattoo your face unless you say the rest of your life. And even then, I don't know. To me, tattooing faces, unless that's your culture, unless that's your heritage, unless that's your ancestry, fine. But you know,
I'll say this, right, Neil. I think that I think the research is showing that, you know, people with that's another topic for another time. We'll get into that. Tango Fox says the thing is poor ain't mean trashy. All of my elders told us that when you're poor, you gotta act and be twice as manly as a rich man because ... Well, yeah. In my family, you say you can't be poor and show poor too, as we say back in the day. So yeah, you still carry yourself a certain way. And I think we've lost that. I think we just want to do what we want to do and be happy with it, with no reprisal, no repercussion, no nothing. Let me get Keisha for that one. Let me get Keisha for that.
But Derek, as much as you say we want to do what we want to do, consider that men just do what they want to do. No, I'm not talking about abuse. No, I'm not talking about the reprehensible things people do. I'm talking about men do what they want to do too, but it's got a problem with that. It's got a problem with that.
Yeah, well, that's how it goes. Again, they said earlier, you can say we relate with black men in these times, but I really care. Cherish is saying, as Derek said, people like dysfunction, post their business on the internet, and then get offended when strangers say something they don't like. Yeah, that's what we do. It's
fascinating stuff.
It's the most fascinating thing.
Fascinating stuff.
That's like, yeah, I can put this out here, and then we put. And I guess because I am accustomed, like, putting out art for public consumption, there's always a possibility that somebody ain't gonna like what you put out. You know what I mean? And you gotta swallow that. Shoot, even this particular podcast that we do, Neil.
We gotta take out your chin.
We know there are people that don't like what we do, the things that we say. But there are a lot of people that do. A lot of people, they don't come in this chat and say anything when the night come, but they message me after the show. They message me the next morning and say, yeah, I like the stream, it was good. You and Neil keep up the work we're doing, and you know what I mean? So those are the kind of things that let you know, well, all right, you're on the right track or whatever, right? Especially when people come and say, well, yeah, you're talking facts, talking truths, right? So we understand that, but you can't put out things. And then when people come and comment on the stuff you put out, you vex. If you didn't want them to comment, keep things to yourself. It's really.
It is not the same Chinese.
It really ain't that hard.
Remember my chocolate ain't Chinese mask?
It really ain't. You know, if you don't want people to comment on things you put out, don't put them out.
Chinese math problem and word problems. It's just that simple. Like, imagine if we do the podcast, right, Derek? I take off my shirt now, my hairy chest, big belly on the place. I know. Tomorrow, no people saying cheese on bread, you stink bad as ass. People memeing me, I all over the place. I know I vex.
You can't be vexed.
I vex.
You can't be vexed about that.
I vex.
You're putting that in public domain. You can't be vexed about that.
You
can't be vexed. So much like some of the people who come out at crop over the song and thing, don't feel obligated to put everything in the public domain. You ain't getting paid for it. Some things you can hold back. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You gotta bring everything to the public domain.
Yeah.
Anyhow, folks, it is 18 minutes past the hour of 9 in Barbados and the rest of the Eastern Caribbean. This is the Senate podcast. We like to think of it as a thinking podcast. Hit the like button for us. Yeah, before we get out of here, we got some stuff we're gonna do for you. Keep the train on the track. You know, keep bringing the content for you guys. Like we don't make up the rules. We just make sure you know what they are, right, guys? You can ignore reality all you want, but you cannot ignore the consequences of ignoring reality, right? Be the best version of you for you. We can see you guys again soon. We got some interesting stuff coming to you guys. We got a short coming tomorrow. That should be very, very interesting. I think it's a video that's going viral a little bit. So if I am correct, I think and I am on the right schedule. I think we should have that coming tomorrow.
Yep.
So look out for that. It's going to be interesting, very interesting. Share it with your people. Let them comment on it. Shoot, put it in the comment section. Let me know what you think about it. But yeah, folks, we still very much in the COVID environment. So wear your mask. Remember, we are going to see you guys again very, very soon.
Peace and love.
Laters.